Well, good evening, everybody. You know what, Jay Bird? Something about Dave Sturt Show getting involved there at the Chop Sports Media Capital Universe of the wrestling world here. Something about the different sound effects. First of all, it sounded like it was 1957. Those sound effects going out.
It's a good year. It's a good year. My dad was born that year.
There you go. There you go. But this is show number 157, otherwise known as what? One Byron Hunt. 57. It's Heinz Ketchup Day here at the stadium. All fans 18 and over come out to see Jimmy Palumbo's show number 15. I can't believe I did 157 of these.
Dude, you know what the worst part is, Jimmy? Is that like I run Facebook, so sometimes your memories will. And I don't run your Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like I just post on your shit, and which sometimes your memories pop up, and now it's like we're like 3 years ago on this day, we're doing the fucking podcast, the Jimmy Palumbo show. You're sitting in the other office, and I'm just like, oh my God, these guys
crazy
already.
I'm going to come down there one of these days. Maybe in the summertime, if I'm down the shore or something, we'll do it on Monday, and I'll come in. That'll just be funny to have it in a different spot. But
that'll be hilarious.
But yeah, show number 157. Now, of course, here at Shea, we have to do our baseball card thing. Now, those of you scoring at home, everyone says, oh, why don't you do like Willie Randolph and Bucky Dent? That's not how this game works. First of all, it's my show. First of all, I have such little control in my life, okay? This is my plane, my little Piper Cub flying out of Linden Airport, okay? 5 people just drove off the road. And
including me on that.
Okay. And I'm saying, so I have a stack of baseball cards, everyone. And they're just random cards that I don't look till I do. I do a little prep work, but when I grab the card and I go. And sometimes they're boring. I get it. But we try to find something, even if the something is that this guy sucked and no one cares. That's part of the fun. But this guy, I got to tell you, this guy was in this guy, I should know who this is. And I didn't know who he was until I had to go to YouTube because I was like, wait a minute, I think I remember this guy. But I'm going to tell you who he is. First of all, he played 19 years in the league, okay? And his ERA was 3.34. Now, his record was 96 and 113, which immediately says he was a reliever. But when you look at stats for a reliever, listen, outside of it's hard to judge bullpen guys sometimes. They get credited when it was not them. And I don't know. There's smart people in this world who know how to do that. I'm not one of them. I'm the guy on the couch saying, this guy sucks. Get him out of there. Where's Mariano? You know, that kind of thing. I'm that guy. But anyway, this guy played, his name is, he sounds like a bad TV show host. His name is Gene Garber. Do you remember who this guy is?
I didn't know.
Okay, first of all, he played with Pittsburgh, the Royals, Phillies, and Atlanta. He's 76 years old now. He was drafted in the 20th round. The fact that they had 20, there's no way they still have rounds like
they do.
Baseball still does.
That's it's crazy.
Obviously, this guy was a pitcher. Now, the reason why I never heard of him really is because he was a National League guy. And I'm here to educate, and you learn things from me. Dave, you have no idea. Back in the day, if like I was a Yankee fan, American League, there was no ESPN.com. There was no ESPN. So therefore, like guys in the National League, the only time I saw them was at the All-Star game. Which was on like NBC, and that's why everybody watched the All-Star games. You got to see like, oh, Willie Stargell. Otherwise, we didn't see any of these guys play. It was all like, yeah, and the Yankees were good when I was younger. And so it's not like everything, like everybody, there's no fantasy. You just don't know shit about anything except your team, which I wish it went back to that. That way I don't want to hear about, oh, some guy on the Supersonics is scoring 20 points a game. I'm like, I don't care. Anyway, this guy, I pontificate. He was in the postseason 3 times, 76 and 77 and 82 at Atlanta. He got 17 hits as a pitcher. All doesn't make any sense. And then I got involved with the Google. Now, he's responsible for something that was huge back in the day. He's the guy who struck out Pete Rose in the 9th inning to end his 44-game streak, right?
Wow.
And I went, oh my God, I think they cut in live. Somehow I remember watching that. I remember watching that. I don't know if maybe
they had to have. They had was something that big. They had to have cut in.
Right. It was August 1st, 1978. This guy was primarily a closer, But here's the best. Here's the thing that I said. I remember this guy. He had like a submarine style pitch, not a Kent.
When they threw the hole.
Yeah, but not a Kent to Colby all the way under, kind of like a sidewinder. Okay. But here's the key thing, and I'm going to make you, after the show, I'm going to make you Google this guy, because you know what he did? He did that quick move where he turned his back to the pitcher and actually looked at second base as if it was a pickoff move. Then he would flip around, turn, and do the sidewinder thing.
So you're missing a big element here. He's basically doing the Manganelli.
Exactly right. He's Manganelli. See, Dave, you're way ahead of me here.
Damn,
you stole my notes.
Sorry.
So Dave Sturgeon, he does one scene in beer league. Next thing you know, he's at the beer league museum of showing everyone various things.
I built a beer league museum.
But anyway, so the Pete Rose at bat was wild because the place was going nuts. Pete Rose on the first pitch tried to bunt, and then I did balls on Pete Rose. What a jerk off! He tried to bunt
down like 8 runs.
But the announcer said something very funny on the YouTube video. He just went, "Wow, Pete Rose trying to bunt his way out. Of course, so and so playing in a third, he would have been out if it was fair. He bunted it foul, and then it was a 1-1 count, then a 2-1, then it was 2-2, and the announcer's like, "Hey, Pete Rose knows he can't walk because if you walk, the streak ends anyway."
Still don't have a hit, right?
Which I love the nuance of baseball like that. So he finally struck him out on like a little bit of a high fastball. But that's what this guy's known for. I should say that he was in the league 19 years and he was getting pretty good money for him back in the day. He played in the National League and I didn't know anything about him. It's the way it works. And now he's a farmer. He owns a poultry farm in Pennsylvania, and he sells emu oil and eggs. I was like, okay. He didn't coach anywhere, but I'm sure some of my Met fans out there will remember this guy, Gene Garber. I mean, he got selected in the 65 draft, so he definitely played, in that 68 to say 90s time period there. Or 80 in the late 80s. So that's it. My guy, Gene Garber. The back of his card doesn't say much other than like it has a lot of stats. So this guy was not going to go in the spokes. But
oh, wow. That's a journeyman.
Yeah. I mean, his first year was 69 with the Pirates. And I think his last year might have been, I don't know, in the late 80s, 88 maybe. But that's it. That's my guy, Gene Garber Day here at Shea.
All right. Well, I think you're going to remember my guy as you are the avid Yankee fan you are. I pulled this one right off the top of my, I guess this is like an 87 deck of baseball cards. So this Yankee, this was an 87 card. So like he might have continued his career past this. Started with the Yankees, stayed with the Yankees, 83, 84, 85, 86. Shortstop. So before Jeter, obviously, before Jeter and before like Pat Kelly, before Mike Diego.
It was after Bucky Dent. Or is it Bucky Dent?
No, it's not Bucky Dent. This gentleman was, he had one game winning RBI.
Oh, I know who this is. I know who this is. Oh my God. I know who this is.
I'll give you a number. It's a weird number to be a starter in the league. His number was 62. Number 62.
He didn't play every day, did he?
I mean, according to here, he had at-bats, 360 at-bats, 84, 481.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm going to know who this guy is, and I'm drawing a blank because I'm just stupid.
I assume that's his number that's listed at the top of the card, right? That's just
what's his name? What's his name?
His name is Mr. Bobby Meacham.
Oh, Bobby Meacham. You know what? I think we did Bobby Meacham, but I forgot. Yeah, Bobby. Oh, man. He was awful. Come on. No, but he's another guy.
He looks like he's 13 years old in this picture, by the way. He looks like a young buck.
Bobby Meacham.
Bobby Meacham Day here.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Don't know how, again, not much to it. Says Bobby enjoys music, golf, and reading the Bible. He said him and his wife are the parents of a daughter, Brooke, and that's it. That's all the fun facts about Bobby Meacham.
How dare I not know Bobby Meacham? That's a
shame on
my
you.
brother's yelling at me right now. Yes. But of course, I used to do a show called Do You Remember That Guy?
I do.
And I did a bunch
remember
of these
that
guys.
show.
I have to go back. Yeah, I have to go back and look at some of the guys I did, but I definitely did Bobby Meacham. I wonder what he's doing. He's probably dead now. Who knows? I don't think he's alive. Anyway, which brings us to, of course, Patreon. Now, we're mired. We're starting to become mired now in a slump. Nothing to panic. This isn't a Giancarlo type slump, but I got to give a shout out. Oh, I saw St. Patty's Day, Alex Stetsena, who every time I see him, he grabs me and goes, "I'm #1 on your Patreon." I said, "Yes, yes." And no
Shout
one
out to him.
and no one can ever take that away. He's like
You're right.
like Dan Ford hit the first home run on the New Yankee Stadium in '76. Venditti just drove off the road on that one. But he's Alex Stetsena, #1, and he loves it. And I was like, dude, whatever you do, don't let your credit card go bad, because otherwise you will be ceremoniously dropped.
You'll be bumped down the list, and then the rest is history.
Also, shout out to Dave Ben, who gave me a few calls. He said he was like 11 episodes behind, or 10, and he had a bunch of long trips coming up, and he would be catching up on the podcast. And then he texted me little jokes I made 10 weeks ago, which I forget every bit. I did.
There's no way you remember those.
He's Dave Ben's famous for 16 years same school. How many people can say that? And also a big shout out to his mom and dad, who were they're older now, and hope they're doing okay. And another quick shout out to Big George Mike DeMosi getting involved, Colonia boy. And then there's Chasing Miracles. Now, these patches are starting to become in the news. I just saw something on Channel 7 or CNN, one of those things. They came up, these patches, they're getting popular. They have ones for pain now, and they have all theories about how they work and blah, blah, blah. But I've been wearing them here at Shea for a while now. Because if you go to chasingmiracles.com, that's right. I didn't do that's right today at the beginning of the show.
That's true. I cut you off with the applause. So that was my fault.
Yeah, it threw me off. But chasingmiracles.com. That's right. You will wear these patches, and it's all kinds of, what the bottom line is? All kinds of shit your body needs that you don't know about. You got to check these things out. They're non-invasive. They go right on. They're not even, it doesn't go through the skin. It works some kind of, I don't know the word you use, something about transdermal or something like that. This stuff works. Check it out. They're painless. You put it right on. It's like a little Band-Aid. You don't feel it. Nothing. They're easy to come off. Non-invasive day here at the stadium. And so check these out. Chasingmiracles.com. Talk to Tommy and Donna. They're helping my mother out. God bless America. Now, we have a special guest coming on, Paul Borghese.
Paul is in the green room.
Okay, so. But before we do, Paul's listening now. Normally I do we're going to do it later. We'll talk a little bit about it if we even get to it. But obviously, I'll just let you know, the NCAA tournament's coming up this weekend. Knicks had a big game, in case we don't get to it. But first of all, I got to tell you about the show that I did on Saturday.
Very curious. I was taking bets. I side bet. I became a bookie over the weekend about your no cursing or no cursing. Did Jimmy slip up at all?
All right. First of all, I did not curse.
Wow. However, that is just applause.
However, whenever there's a plane crash, breaking news, and you just hear the announcer says, there are no survivors. They are still looking for the black box. They are still looking for.
Oh, man.
Okay. First of all, I got hired. My buddy Ryan, good comedian. I do shows with him. He was supposed to do the show, but they never confirmed it with him. And he's traveling in Florida doing shows. And he was like, I didn't know it was a booking. And so they recommended me. I get this person on the phone. We're chatting. And again, had to be no cursing, adult themed, 60th birthday party. Okay. I said, all right, I'll do it. And the money was good. So again, clearly sell out. Jimmy Palumbo will take the money when I get there. It's a gorgeous country club. Colts Neck Country Club. I get there and I hear loud DJ music, balloons all over. It is like a full-blown wedding. Tables, buffet, those photo booths, people taking pictures. Everyone's like, celebrate good times. Come on.
And you're about to ruin their day.
I walk in and I went, uh-oh. I was like, so I go to the side room, right? I go to the side room and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I'm going to get killed. I literally was like, there is no chance at me winning this game. Everybody was having, and by the way, the women, everybody was smoking hot. There was gorgeous
bunch
women.
Of yuppies, bro. It's called
No. That's the thing. They were wily. A lot of Brett Gardners there going 5 1/3.
A lot of clubhouse girls.
Oh, no doubt about it. This was like, and I get the leg up a little bit, maybe foul a few off, get comfortable, tap the spikes. I was ready to go for this, right? I'm like, but people, I'm like, I'm going to die. There's no way. So I go over to the DJ and I go, hey, man, I'm Jimmy. I said, I'm going to write some stuff down for you to say. And just make sure you say, hey, everybody, we're going to do stand-up now. Like I knew. But meanwhile, he's looking at me like, oh, wait, you're going to do stand. He looks at me while music is going on in the background. Dun, 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 dun. He's like, oh, you're going to do stand-up like now here? And I'm like, I took a body shot right away, and I tried to wave it off as if I'm not hurt. You know what I mean? So
you got somebody in the corner with the towel already.
Oh, like, right away. I had the guy had the thing they put on the ice, the ice metal thing. I told my son, like everybody was up at the ropes. Let's put it that way. He had the stool in the hand.
I got the stool right under me. If you see that in the background, it's great.
Right. So the guy says to me, hey, man, he goes, listen, you're clean, right? I said, yeah, I was told I can't curse. He goes, no, everyone's very religious, kind of a Spanish, not Catholic, Spanish religion, Spanish people that are very Christian, big on the church and all that. He's like, look, I'm renting this equipment. And the guy told me that there could be nothing, no sexual innuendo, no cursing, no nothing. Otherwise, I can lose. He starts reading me the riot act. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? You didn't hire me. So I'm looking around. I tried to say hello to the woman. I'm not going to say her name. She was big and strong. What a big right-hander she was. I was like, this woman's gorgeous. Then I'm told out, oh, by the way, you can't mention that she's 60. I said, well, it's her 60th birthday party. No, it's her second 30th birthday party. I'm like, and I was gonna do a whole thing, 60, Roger Maris. I had everything tied in, right? I was like, of course, me with numbers. So I'm sitting there going, oh my. So I go back and I sit and going over my notes, and I'm looking at stuff, and I'm like, all right, get rid of that bit, get rid of that bit. Then I'm like, everyone's having fun in there. I can't do 45 minutes. There's no 30 to 45. So a guy sitting next to me, he looked like a real Gindaloon guy with his wife or girlfriend. And we're on this side kind of little lounge. And he's like, I have jeans on. I look like a baboon. Everyone's dressed to the nines. And I look like I put the drop ceiling in. And he goes to me, he says to me, hey, who are you? I said, I'm the stand-up comedian. And he's like, you got to do it. You're going to do it here now? He goes, ooh. And he goes back to his little Zambuca, And so I was like, his girlfriend or wife goes, oh, wow. How long have you been doing it? I'm like, I've been in a league a while, so I think I'm up against it here. And then he goes, yeah, they're very religious. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And so I'm just crossing out. Finally, I looked at him. I looked at this guy, and this guy doesn't, I go, I think I should only do 15 minutes. He goes, max 15 minutes. He goes, like, yeah. So I start texting the guy who hired me, who's there somehow. And I'm like, hey, man, my professional opinion is that you need to get me in and out of there. I'll take less pay.
They're going to throw the 9-volt batteries at you real quick.
Yeah, I was
John Rocker style.
I'll take less pay. I don't really care. I don't think it's the right entertainment matching the gig. Now, of course, I'm feeling like a pussy doing that. And I'm like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? So I go over to the guy, find him in the back. He goes, no, Jimmy, it's going to be great. One of those positive people. It's going to be great. You're going to be great. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm about to die in front of these people. So next thing you know, the DJ's like, he lowers the volume of the music. Dance floor's rocking, right? Chicks all over.
Everybody sit down, watch this reject.
It looked like DJs in 1991. Okay. I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, he's like, all right, everybody, settle down, settle back to your tables. You can see that. We got a very special thing that Linda, and I can see there's excitement. Like, what special thing is Linda going to have for them? And he's like, we've got Jimmy Palumbo here. First of all, the confusion and silence, I was already giggling. Now, I brought my actual stool, in the theory that if I put the stool in the middle, it would kind of reek of hey, gang, there's a stand-up thing going on. But that was like me bringing a little white flag as a machine gun pointing at my throat. So I go on stage and I'm like, hey.
I would pay to be there for all this, man.
Somebody might have videotaped.
Are you MFing, in your mind, are you MFing Ryan at this point?
Oh, for sure. And Ryan, I texted him. I said, I hate you forever, So with that, I'm sitting there. I start the show. Good evening, hey, everybody, Jimmy Palumbo. And I was like, he mentioned Friends. I was like, oh, of course I was on Friends. And now I'm here at this. And then all of a sudden, nobody was. I heard people in the back were laughing, having joined themselves at the photo booth. And I'm like, this isn't going to. So finally I just said, oh my God, this is where all the beautiful people are. And the table right in front of me had the birthday girl with 8 of her girlfriends, all single, all hot. And I just went, oh my God, this is the hottest table ever on the Jersey Shore right now. They clapped for that like they thought, like, oh, this guy's going to be good. And I knew I didn't have another.
That's it.
I was like, good evening, everybody. Everybody, and I did a joke like, even the men are hot. And I was like, I don't go that way. And as soon as I said, like, I don't go that way, you heard like, it was like a switch. Hush. I think like, this guy's going to do gay material now. So I that's exactly right. So meanwhile, as I'm on stage, I just said to me, Jimmy, you're a pro. You've been in the league a long time. It's like a starting pitcher who gives up 6 hits in a row, but Torrey's not going to take him out of the game. You know what I mean? Like, like remember those games? CC Sabathia, it was like 4-0 right away.
Messina used to like shy him away. Like, get the hell out of here. I'm finishing this.
So I'm on. I start doing my material, and man, she was smiling in the beginning. Right? She was like, "Oh my God, look at this guy!" And then, dude, by like minute 4, I could see the absolute. Her face was saying, "Oh dear Lord, I have the wrong entertainment here at Shea." There was no doubt. So I tried to go into other things. I tried to do this, that, but I saw there was a couple of people that were looking at me laughing. I thought they were laughing at my jokes. But what they really were doing was like, oh my God, this is so bad. This guy stinks. What is he? They were laughing at me.
I feel so bad. I really do.
So
my heart's breaking for you, bro.
Dude, it was plus the audience was wide, so it was way to the left or right, not deep. I looked to the left. There was a couple in the front, and the girl was. They were laughing like covering their mouths, like oh my God. It was like what? It was like you know what it was. It was like when you drive by a car accident, you got to slow down and see what's going on. Then I saw the guinea guy I was talking to out front. He peeked his head in, and he shook his head up on stage. So meanwhile, I was going through my material. I had my little cheat sheet on my stool, and I'm like, in my head while I'm talking, can't do that. I go in, I tried, I threw as hard as I could. It was finally I just said, well, this is good entertainment here. Like, I even might have said at Shea. Did you have
a couple cocktails at least to take this?
I had half a beer in me. That was it.
Oh,
then I got severe cotton mouth, and I had a water bottle. Normally I have a beer. I had to open up the water bottle. You know, that's those. Oh my God. It was like 1,000, 2 1,000, 3. It was like walking into a wake for the first time.
Oh my God. It might have been. You're fucking wake.
We are at Goslin. So then all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm like, Jimmy, finally I'm like, I set my watch to 15 minutes. Okay. I said, Jimmy, at least do 15. That way I'll give you a couple $100, whatever. And I go through, and next thing you know, I just realized, I said, hey, I just went, hey, everybody, that's about it. I said something like, you don't need to listen to me anymore. I was like, yeah, thanks for giving me the time. And I got like a spattering of applause, right? And the DJ comes in, let's give it up for Jimmy Palumbo. Silence. And then he just goes right into celebrate good. And as I'm grabbing my stool to get off the stage, everybody's rushing to get back on the dance floor. You
were chose for the wrong
gig. It was like
gig,
a shitty Adult Swim at Springwood back in 74. I was like, oh my God. And then I get off. I had my bag at the door. I had my stool in my hand. I'm going by people with the stool. So embarrassing. I'm out of here. I get in the car. I'm like, oh my God. There are no survivors. Then I realized I didn't get paid.
Oh.
I had to go back inside, right? Walked along the side to find the guy, right? I'm like, if I'm going to do that, you got to get paid. I don't care. Even if it pays me $50, pay for tolls. I go in the back, some lady around 65, in a dress that's kind of tight on her, She looks at me, she goes, she's got like this. She just looks at me dead in the eye and goes, you got a lot of guts, kid. A lot of guts.
Kid.
She's like, then she goes, that was rough. I was
like, oh my God.
Right? So it
was. Can I get fucking paid?
So I go over to the guy and he goes, hey, Jimmy, that was great. I'm like, I said, dude, no, it wasn't. I said, how you paying me? My guy, he goes, I said, listen, you give me whatever you want. I didn't do the foot. You go, no. We made a deal. I saw the client. She was smiling. I'm like, yeah, the first 5 minutes, because she was like, oh, my idea of stand-up is happening. And then there was a look of complete disgust. And so he Venmoed me the money. I waited. I pulled a Dave Sturchill. I waited by the phone for the
I pulled a Dave Sturchill. Listen to you.
Waiting for the Venmo to go through. And next thing you know, went, you have just received. And I was like, take care, everybody. Good. And they're like, oh.
You just paid for social media for the next 2 weeks.
Exactly right. So I walked through, and now one guy was like, hey, nice job. So as I'm walking out, this black guy comes up to me, and he puts his hands on my shoulders and goes, your problem was the mic was bad. The DJ should have helped. Turns out the microphone wasn't great. I couldn't hear that because it was like those DJ big boxes,
Yeah.
He was like, the DJ screwed you over. We couldn't really hear you. And I'm like, bad enough.
That was it.
Yes, it was like the whole thing was a disaster. So I get in the car. I drove home. I swear, if there was a bar on the way home, I just didn't see one. I'd still be down there in Colts Neck in a box right now. So the next day, I got home. I sent the guy a text. I said, hey man, thanks for the gig. I said, but I got to tell you, I'm just letting you know, you don't ever do that again. Someone's having a birthday party. They say, well, have a stand up. Just say no. It's bad for you. It's bad for the party. And he sent me a note saying she seems fine with it. And she had a great time. And she's happy with everything we did. So in the end, the client was happy. But I, of course, died a miserable death. Now, I know I had to tell that story. It was the worst gig of my life.
Yes, let's get our guest on.
But Paul is waiting patiently. But of course, Paul Borghese here at Shea is sponsored by.
Here he comes.
Cornholelevel.com. That's right. Cornholelevel.com is sponsoring my guest here. 20% off the entire order. Go to cornholelevel.com because, I know Paul's been having issues with his cornhole. Dave's been having issues for years. Matter of fact, 157 issues. Look, you just hook this right on your cornhole right there, and your board is to and fro. It's what you want to do. My buddy Mike Caprio owns the company, and he's a staunch supporter of the Jimmy Palumbo Show. So go to cornholelevel.com. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I believe only a few people have come on twice. Pat Volkemer and maybe
Artie
Paul
Lang.
Borghese.
Artie Lang.
Artie Lang came on twice, sort of, physically. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Paul Borghese. How are you doing, Paul?
Doing good. I feel special. Can you hear me?
I can very much hear you. Almost to the point where you're in my soul. I can see. Yeah, you look good. You going from your laptop?
Well, yeah, it's the first time I use the laptop. It's a new laptop. First time I'm using it for this. So
looks good, Paul. He looks good.
It's working out okay. I'm down here in the man cave area.
All right, look at you. Love
funny.
That.
You were talking about doing your stand-up act. I was listening to the whole thing, and it's funny because I never thought of it before, and your voice always reminded me of someone, and it just came to me now. Did anybody ever tell you your voice sounded like someone else in a business?
I felt like Burgess Meredith.
No, when I was like not looking at listen, you sound like Jackie Mortling a lot.
You
do. You sound like Jackie. Your voice.
Maybe.
I'm telling you.
Some people say I could sound like Artie Lang, believe it or not, especially when he's down low like this.
I'm more familiar with like Jackie, but I'm telling you, I heard your voice, and I was laughing at what you're saying because it reminded me of a story. You know Joey Cola, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So way back, I mean, I'm not gonna say what year it was, but when I had my 10-year high school reunion, I had not discovered, but like you sort of like stumbled upon Joey Cola early in his career.
Great
thought
comic.
He was really super funny. He used to do the thing, with the shark thing. He was hysterical. His mother's stories. So I was like, I had a great idea. I was the MC, like host of our 10-year high school reunion. I was like, I'm gonna get a comedian. Not thinking like everybody hasn't seen each other in 10 years. All they want to do is talk. They don't want to slow down to listen to a comedian. But I thought it was a great idea. I even gave him scoop on different people, like this guy sitting there, and this was, pick on him about this. And so he had a whole thing prepared. And I was so excited. And as soon as he got up there and he started doing a little bit, and I started realizing, just like what you said, I was like, I think I made a mistake. And he's looking at me. Joey's like looking at me, like kind of like, they don't really just want to talk. So at some point I just went like this, and I went, but like this, I mean, like this, but don't worry, I'm going to pay you. And that was like,
well, it's funny you said that. A comedian said to me one time, whatever you do, don't do reunions. People want to talk. They haven't seen each other in 30 years. You're up there doing dick jokes. And it's like, it's just not going to work. But I there's a lesson learned, and I'm sure I actually met Joey. He's a really nice guy. I met him about 2 years ago down the shore. I can't do gigs like that. You got to be smart, Jimmy. You got to be smart. If you get a gig, comedy only works if everyone is there to see comedy. I mean, you know, a magician wouldn't have worked there. Everybody was there to celebrate this woman's birthday, not to see me, not to see. I mean, if Jerry Seinfeld was there, he would have bombed. With all the restrictions you had, no innuendo, no this. I mean, you know, I couldn't even
command the audience's attention. Like, you know, I have my Italian feast every year in Tappan. We have thousands of people, and I have live entertainment, you know, music and all that. And every now and then someone comes to me and says, "Hey, you should get a comedian up there." And I'm like, "You don't understand. It's an outdoor venue. People are eating sausage and peppers. They're drinking. They're hanging out. Comedians want your attention also because, you know, just to hear their comedy." And I said, people, they don't have the attention span to do that in the middle of like an Italian.
It doesn't work. You know, because there's in comedy, there's subtleties, there's setups. And, you know, the other day I was in Walgreens. And if you don't hear Walgreens, next thing you know, what the hell is this guy talking about? But yeah, by the way, you do run first of all, Paul Borghese, those of you who didn't watch the first episode, is an actor and a director. He's probably been doing it about as long as I have. Probably. We kind of grew up in the New York auditioning scene. I've seen you on auditions for 100 years. Then we worked together on that movie Back in the Day. I think you directed that one. And we're both in The Family. We have a couple of credits. Obviously, you've done the shows I have that are in New York. So you were telling some great stories. You played Yogi in 61, which is something that a lot of people know you from. And but we didn't get a chance last time to really talk about. How did you start out? Like, were you a theater guy in high school? Or you just a regular jerk off and then you decided to go into it later? What was your?
I was a jock and a troublemaker at the same time in high school. Now I wasn't a theater guy, but I did one play. My girlfriend in high school was the makeup artist for the plays, so she talked me into doing Arsenic and Old Lace, and I played Officer Brophy in that. So that was like my first acting gig, you know. And I think I had one line in it, something: "We came to collect the toys for the Christmas fund." I think that was my line. So it was fun. All I did was prank the musical theater nerds because I was like a jock. I mean, I did some really funny shit, so I had like a lot of fun. I remember I had it's not about how I get started, but it's funny when you think of it. There was one guy who was like, you know, like there's like the musical theater guy, who's like, you don't know, kind of. I don't want to say, you know, today you can't say too much like you were saying before.
He can go opposite field. He can pull the ball, that kind of thing.
He was, you know, very good though, you know. So there was a scene where he has to come out on the stage. I remember he's the lead, and he has a briefcase that's, you know, it's waiting off on the side of the stage, and then he has to put it on the table and open it up. He has this whole scene. So, you know, the weights that they have for the curtains, you know. So I was like, I'm going to get this guy because he never messes with the thing. He picks it up and goes right out. So I filled the briefcase with the weights.
Oh, shit.
So we went out on a stage with, you know, full audience, and picks it up, and he's like, didn't know why the hell it was very heavy, you know, like 40 pounds or something. And he's like, this, you know, put it on a table. It's not supposed to be papers, you know. So he came off the stage and he knew it was me. He's like, you, Borghese, had to be you. And I'm like, you know, then everybody laughed. He laughed. So then the next night, right, I was like, he went over to his briefcase to check it, and it was nice and light. And he looked and he went like you didn't get me tonight. But what I did was I went and bought, I don't even know where I found it then. Like, I guess it was gay porn or whatever, guy pictures. So I got like naked guy pictures, and I opened up the briefcase and taped them up so that when he put it on the table and he has the audience, he'd open it up thinking he was clear, and he's looking at, you know, what he's looking at, right?
Oh,
and
my God.
His face just turned and he came off the stage. It's like, no one has ever done this to me. Where did you come from? You know?
Well, first of all, if you did that now, you would be at the
away for life.
you would be at a private school somewhere in New Hampshire, never to be seen again. That's funny. I know a lot of guys used to do. I started out doing community theater. Literally, I read an ad in the Star Ledger, and I was hanging out with some chick in New Brunswick. She's like, "You're not going to do that." She's bitch. I was like, "I'll go down there." I strolled in like I was Sinatra at the Sands, never doing anything, and I didn't know what a headshot was. I didn't know anything. So I remember the guys. Before I went on for the first time, because I ended up booking the thing, they were doing all little tricks like that. And I was the other way. Like, that guy was actually nice to you. I was like, what the fuck? You know, like, I was like, yeah, like you don't mess with Tom Brady's spikes. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I didn't take it well at all until I realized they were just busting balls, and then of course I became religious about stuff like that. So you started doing, you did. I guess you must have had a little bit of the bug. You got a few laughs on stage. That's addicting.
It wasn't until I got out of college and I had opened up a pizza and pasta joint with my best friend Alex. So we called it Al Pauli's because I'm Paulie. Al Pauli's Pizza and Pasta. We had a wine and beer bar, and we did a commercial for the place. And I got so addicted to the process of not only being in the commercial and writing what we were going to say and doing the voiceover for it, and with the production, what are we going to shoot? That I went back to school, both the HB Studios in Manhattan for acting.
That's where my buddy Michael Deej and Artie went there.
Yep. And our buddy Vinny Pastor was doing some teaching there for
and
a while
HB
too.
That's gone, right? That can't still be.
No,
there.
It's still there. It's still there. But
really?
At the time, it was like it
was
wasn't
a big
really
place.
for television and film. It was more for theater, and I wasn't really trying to pursue that end of it. But I went there, and then I went to Center for the Media Arts, which was right near FIT, to learn film and television production. This is after getting a communications degree in college.
Right.
So I kind of got into both sides of the camera early on like that, and it just was like one thing led to the other. If I was working in front of the camera, I took the work there. If I was working behind it. And it's been like that my whole career. Sometimes I'm busier on one side of the camera than the other, and sometimes I'm working both.
I know you produce and direct and act as well. So when your early days in the city, were you like me with the backstage and the headshots and the submissions? And people forget, like,
oh my God,
I laughed. There was actually
the open calls.
It was
Remember the open calls?
Yeah, there was a newspaper that was like the New York Post or Daily News and that kind of thing. And I think it came out every Thursday. And they had open calls, casting calls, whatever it was, and you had to look at them, and they would have the description. Then you had to take your headshot, put it in an envelope, big envelope, and send it in. And I tell people all the time, dude, I sent out, no lie, 10 to 12 of those for 5 to 7 years every week. I was signed by William Morris, doing big stuff, and I still, because you know why? This was my theory. I don't know if you had this kind of theory in your head. I was like, I can't control shit, but I can still control looking at the casting notices and shoving a headshot in the mail. And I got like tons of NYU student films that way. And that's how I learned, like, they don't teach you how to like back to one, get being mic'd up, the makeup trailer. Like nobody teaches you that. And if you don't know what you're doing, like I was just a regular jackass, carpenter's son, and that I learned all from just doing. So did you bombard the backstage like that? How did you get representation?
I was doing that too. A funny thing too is how I found out about it was because I was living in Rockland County, and somewhere in, I think it was like Fort Lee or something. No, Nyack. That's right. Somebody started some agency, but we know all the scams back then. Like they're only going to accept certain amount of people, and then they take your pictures, and so you're paying to get the pictures done. And then
give us $300, and we'll get you on a Warner Brothers series. And you find out.
I fell for a little of that early on.
Yeah, me too.
Every Thursday we're gonna. I don't know why it was Thursday. Every Thursday we're gonna call you with auditions because there was all these open calls. I didn't know they were just getting backstage and telling me to go on this and go on that.
Right.
So once I realized that, I just started picking up backstage myself.
Right.
But I remember what we didn't know back then was that like 90% of what was in backstage was like, I mean, if it wasn't extra work, it was movies that were never going to see the light of day, never even getting made. People didn't even have the money or starting money or seed money or development money. And they just wanted to have a casting session because it was, I'll cast my movie and then I'll try to raise the money.
You get a bunch of guys would have chicks come in. Oh, man.
Yeah. So
I used to tell girls, never go by yourself. Sometimes the casting call would be Friday night at 9:00 in a dorm. People were partying, and I'm walking in with my little cop uniform going, country. What a jerk.
And we wait for hours. Remember, for hours sometimes. It'd be like so many people. Yeah. You wait. Then you never hear anything. I remember I used to go in with all my ammunition. I go in with, we used to have member portfolios even as an actor, because and I'd be like, you try to stop the show. Oh, can I show you some of my? I was so green and so new to it.
So
I remember I didn't even know they always had these ads that said indie film, and at the time I thought they meant like Bollywood films.
Right.
India. I didn't know they meant independent films. I really didn't know, and at some point I was like, oh, indie means independent. I was like, wow, they're making a lot of Indian films.
Well, you know what I thought, Bob, even worse, on the sign-in sheet, the SAG, it would say who your agent is, and it would say print. I thought it meant I thought it meant that, like, who was your print agent?
Print agent.
All they were asking was to print your name. It's like, I would write, instead of writing Jimmy Plumbo, I would write in, I don't have a print agency. So
I
was
never
like,
heard that one. That's a good one.
That's so stupid, right? And the girl would say, Jimmy, what do you mean? It's not a print job. I'm like, oh, it said print. No, Jimmy, it's I physically print. You know what a jerk. I must have made 1,000. Listen, those were the days of black and white, the photographs, and then I went to the guy. I can't think of his name right now. My God, he was the first digital. He did the first guy to do everything digital, and but you didn't have email. He couldn't send it to you. He just did it all. He goes, Jimmy, I don't have any film. We could take 4,000 shots as long as it takes. Blah blah blah. And then you had to get them printed. Then you had to remember the print for copy. That was the one photo that you took to the place, and they charge you like $3 a piece for these headshots. And of course, I spent more money on headshots than anyone. It was brutal.
So many different versions. Me as a cop. Me as this. Me as without my shirt on. Me with a million different things.
I didn't do the no shirt on because that wasn't going to win any games there.
I was more confident back then with my shirt off. But yeah, I remember this guy. I remember actors would just hope you go up to some of these open calls, and they were like, people would run out of money. You know, they were broke, and they had like Xerox copies of the headshot. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of having like a photograph copy, you'd see it was Xerox copies. It was black and white.
I used to take it, put it on the printer at the library for 10 cents, and make a copy of it and keep it in my bag in case I got a second audition. I was already in the city. I would drive in from Jersey, you know,
just in case. Yeah.
It was just a. So what was your first kind of booking where, you know, you either a Law and Order of some sort or some kind of that got you representation or whatever? Like, what was your first big league at bat?
No. I started out with some like good roles in like independent films, you know, like way back Fright House, which is like a horror film, and I got to play opposite Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster.
That's great.
It's on Amazon now. It was I don't know what I started off with like, you know, mid low end sort of representation. I never really got with anyone big as much as every time I thought I crossed over a little bit, I go to the meetings and they'd look at my materials and they'd say, you know, we love your reel, you did great work, we like you, you know, you handle yourself well in the meeting, but we have like 5 Paul Borgheses. So like if we take you on, it's just creating more competition for you know the rest of our roster. So if there's a different time, if we had, you know, so I really, you know, there were times where I was with, you know, some decent agents, but I feel like my whole career I've never had such great representation. Right now I'm working with a manager, but it's always been a hustle. I feel like I've always had to do to myself submissions, and you know.
I finally have. I've been blessed. I've had good representation. I also, though, I was signed by William Morris for 6 years because of this live on tape thing. But you know what? It was a terrible, terrible mistake. I was playing for the New York Yankees, and I was really the right field ball boy on the side. I thought like I'm in the game, and then occasionally I'd get a base hit, and you know. But I realized that I didn't really have someone. I was part of a large roster, because the show we were on was picked up by NBC, and William Morris handled the deal, but only one, like in New York. I started going to LA, I had one lady there, and then I got locked into the voiceover and on camera world. But being with a big agency can really screw you up. And now I'm with this place that they're just great. I've been with them for 15 years. They just get the job done and stuff like that. But yeah, I had a couple of agencies. One, Abrams Artists. Were you with Abrams? Ever with them? They just closed.
Like I freelanced. Yeah, I know they just closed. I was very shocked. Yeah, I used to know Robert Adderman really well, and I was like would freelance with them. I never was signed with them, but they you know booked me on some things.
But the crazy thing is that would be like, oh, did you hear the Detroit Tigers aren't playing anybody anymore? That's how big they were. Like, what do you mean? They're gone. They're gone. Like,
I know. And they actually had changed over, and I remember Robert's son came in and took over. I thought they were getting bigger. Right. And all of a sudden, I guess, you know, with the industry changing too.
A hedge fund guy bought them, and he just ran into the ground. And now there's other agencies that are having financial trouble because of the 2 strikes in a row, which was a bitch. But we got to talk about something else. You had mentioned to me. Now, one of the most beautiful actresses in the world, I thought, still do. Haven't seen her in a while, though, of course. She's probably a veteran now. She was in The Family, Diana Agron.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when I first saw her, she was way younger than me. And I was already like married and stuff. But I remember going like, ooh, that girl's throwing 103 miles an hour in the eighth. She just was sweet and gorgeous. And you got to spend I spent a month there eating dinner with her every night with De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer. It was only when Michelle Pfeiffer was sitting down next to her, it was like, the young rookie and the cagey veteran of Michelle Pfeiffer. But she was so sweet. Now you said you got to hang out with her for a little bit.
We had like you had when we were on part one of this, when the first show that I did with you guys, you were talking about, about like that sort of like not a commune, but it was like when we went to Luc Besson, our director, owned this like big, almost like community that,
Yes.
with private gates, and you go in and he would have his cast stay there. And I stayed, they had these cottages, and you stayed, I think, in the building, right? I think you said
no,
that.
I didn't stay in his main house. I stayed in one of the cottages.
Yeah, I had one of the cottages, and Diana's cottage is right next to mine. And
here we go.
Of course, she's much younger than me, but like the whole time, you can't help it. I mean, listen, what she looked like, and you never know. You're away, you're in France, you're there for all this time and everything, and just being friendly and just being nice, whole thing. And then one day I was like, there's only like a couple of days left, so I didn't have the nerve. I didn't know what to say, so I had already hit on the photographer. Remember the photographer? She was kind of.
Oh yeah, big time.
She came over, had a bottle of wine, and she came to my cottage and everything. And I thought for sure. And next thing you know, she starts talking about her husband back home and this and that. And I'm like,
that'll do it here. Final score.
What are you doing in my room? Like, what are you doing in my room kind of thing? And it was like, really thought that she was coming, that I had no expectation. So that went nowhere, except I got some good photographs of myself out of it. And so Diana, I wrote a note sort of like to Diana, like, hey, it's been fun, and this and that. Like, we only had a couple of nights here. He's like, why don't you, you want to come by and hang out? I'll get us a nice bottle of wine. I had already, some stocked up in there.
Right.
And you think this is going somewhere, but it's not. You're like,
Well, I know. I mean, I know Diana Agron she only gives up like 8 points a game. So I
saw her like the next day, and I'm thinking like, oh hey, I was like, maybe she's gonna say like, I got your note, and she just like didn't say anything about the note. Didn't say, hey, your note was really nice, but I can't come over. I'm leaving. And I was like, oh God. So I just was kind of like, I wonder if she's going around telling everyone, like, look
you were
at this
hitting
note.
on her.
I was hoping it didn't get back to Luke.
Did you really get a whole lay of the land there? Did you know that the Luc Besson's huge 9-bedroom house was a 13th century house?
Yeah.
Castle.
Cool. Yeah.
And it was where the Nazis, that was their headquarters, and it's only a half hour south of Normandy. And as soon as we landed, they ran out of there. And then the other buildings, some of them were really old, like where we ate. They said that building was like 700 years old. It was the original barn, like, Moses was in there and stuff. And then the other buildings, Luke, because he was starting to make money, he made the other buildings look like they were 800 years old, but they weren't.
He wanted them to look older. Yeah.
And he also had a full screening room, the size of a regular theater.
Oh, we went to, when we first got there, I think it was like the first or second day, he had a screening, and it's a beautiful theater, the one screen theater. You went in, and I forget what movie he showed.
It was his Taken 2.
Was it Taken 2?
Taken 2, because that movie was released that weekend in the U.S. And I've often told the story. Luke's wife was like, yeah, Luke's a little nervous. I'm like, what is he nervous about? He goes, well, the first Taken movie did really well, but on the second one, we have more at stake. So in other words, he had more points. He had more back end. He had more, like, in other words, this is the game he had to win. And that movie, I think that movie did like $300 million on the first weekend. So it's like, boom. Yeah. And he was a happy camper the rest of the way.
It was amazing, that setup. And I remember, because when we got there, I thought, we're going to France, and it just sounded like, and then we got picked up at the airport. I don't know if you remember. I think we got in like a passenger van, a few of the actors, and we drove hours, right, to go to where Luke's kept us for the month.
It was a good.
I mean, I got a weekend off. I went to, Paris with Vinny Pastore. But I remember we went to go, I don't know if we were talking about it on the show last time about me and a few of the other actors, Anthony Desio, and I think Vinny and somebody else, who went to Normandy Beach.
It was awesome.
And we went all the way, we drove all the way. It's a 3-hour drive. And we were like almost there. We had the day off, and we're like almost there. And then Luke calls and says, it's to Anthony Desio, was a real big, huge guy that had that rugged scene with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Stepping over me.
Stepping over you. You guys are talking about that
Yeah,
last time. Yeah. So he called. We're like literally like 15 minutes from getting there, and they call and said, "Oh, Luke needs you on set." He's like, "What do you mean? Like I'm here with like 4 other guys, and we had the day off. We rented a car. We're almost 3-hour drive to Normandy Beach. Well, he needs you for a scene." So what are we gonna do? So we turned around, drove all the way back, and so now it's 6 hours of drive instead of 3. And we get there, and it was a scene where De Niro is like in an upside down, dunks the guy in the what do you call it that you burn in? You know what I'm talking about. What will you dissolve in? Acid.
Oh, acid,
right? So Anthony's too freaking tall and big. So when they go to do the shot, they're like, so we went to set. We went straight to set, and they're like, he's out of frame. He's too big. He doesn't work for the shot. So next thing you know, Luke's like, Paul, put Paul in wardrobe. And I'm like, oh, great. So now I had a scene with De Niro, which I didn't. Cool. Well, I did, but I didn't. You know what I mean? Like, so I got to replace. So it was me, De Niro, and that other guy that did the stunts. He was part of the Hitmen, cast.
Right.
But and so we had to go a whole nother day. But so
you guys, you were there for about a week?
No, I was there for over a month.
Right, because I was there for.
We just overlapped.
Yeah, I was there for like 6 weeks. We did like 3 weeks at the Luke place. Then we did a week in Paris. And then we went back and forth to Paris and up by Normandy up there, which Luke still lives there. I got a movie coming out called Dog Man. It's coming out next week.
Yeah, I saw that he put you in that, right?
Yeah.
With him? You did another one movie with Luke. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's going to come out next week. Matter of fact, I'll let you know. I'm going to be going. It's only going to be in the city theaters the first couple of weeks or whatever. So if I go in, maybe I'll meet you in there. We'll go get a beer. We'll watch the movie. I don't know if you're not doing anything. So so now what was when did you start really? I know you were doing the acting and directing, but what was the first bigger budget movie that you did, like directing? What was your first directing? Shit, I really got to do this?
Well, like the first feature film, movie that I directed was in 1999, was 4 Deadly Reasons. But, it was a low budget independent, but a bunch of guys in it, like Vinnie Vella and Joe Regano and Leo Rossi, so like I had a good cast for low budget indie. And I was, just hired to direct it. And then after that, I went on and connected with, William DeMeo. And he had wanted to make this other movie called The Fifth Family. He had done Wannabes. He wanted to do another mob thing. And at the time, he had a script, and I was at a stage reading, and I was like, he wanted me to go to listen, and I was like, he goes, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I said, "I think you should make a different movie." And it was like, I think it was like right after 9/11 or something. And I said, "Listen, you know what? People need to laugh again. Like, let's do a comedy." Right. He's like, "But I don't have a comedy." I go, "Let's write one." So he wrote Searching for Bobby D, which is actually very funny. I love the movie, and it's
I don't think I've ever seen it. I have to check that one out. I
think you really like it. We had a deal with Lionsgate. We're gonna get a big release, and then the deal fell through. Right. So William just kind of gave it to.
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon, right?
It's gonna be going on. Because it got nobody saw it. It got a company named Monarch picked it up, did like almost nothing with it promotionally, just cataloged it.
Right.
So now we're gonna bring, when it comes out now, it's like everybody will be able to see it. It's very funny. Carmen Electra's in it, Sandra Bernhard, my cousin Tony Darrow, Michael Nori, Bobby Costanzo.
I gotta check that out. I remember it.
I mean, it's like
I remember when it was when you guys were doing that, through the grapevine and bullshit with people at auditions. So
that wasn't a big budget movie, but it was a big project to co-write with him and direct it and help him produce it. And then after that we went into GOAT, which was a bigger budget, a bigger movie, which was then called Once Upon a Time in Brooklyn, with Armand Assante and Kathy Moriarty and Ice-T and Ja Rule. And so, it's and back in the day with you.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun to do that. Now, what do you got? You mentioned you got the thing you're directing now. It has a tie-in with. We have to get. I know I'll promote it on the show. I'll have some fun with it. But the beef jerky.
I should have had one in front of me now. We have it's right behind me. If I could get one, can I get one? I'll tell you what it is.
Go grab it. Go grab it.
Jailhouse beef jerky. Right, that's my cousin Tony Darrow on there. You can see Tony. Where am I? I'm going opposite. So you can't do this. It's a mirror image.
It's a mirror. That's cool.
So
all right.
These guys that my cousin Tony knows, they started a beef jerky company, and they wanted to do like a commercial, something like that. And I said, came up with an idea. I was like, why don't you do a series, almost like a branding series,
Right.
where we come up with a funny storyline, and we promote the product through it. So it's a real product that's getting product placement in there. And then if people like the show and the characters, they're going to want to go out and try the Jailhouse beef jerky, and vice versa. Right. Every bag will have something on it saying, watch, you could watch the show, the Jailhouse Jerky.
Yeah,
Crew,
it's a great idea.
It's featured on Amazon Prime, wherever it's going to be. And it's like a cross promotional thing. So we just shot the pilot episode, and it's very funny. It's, we're going to be getting you in there for one of these episodes.
Oh yeah, I get in
of
there.
Of course. I got a great cast besides Tony. I mean, I'm in it. I really didn't want to be in it. I really just wanted to direct, but it just worked out that way. Chuck Zito's in it, and Louis Veneria.
Oh, that's cool.
William DeMeo's doing something on it. And
everybody, it's a little bit of a gang of us tend to float around in these
Rosenberg.
We need one of these to be a big hit, so that way we can all cash in like some of those other Entourage guys do. What they do, one movie next, it's like Adam Sandler. All his buddies are in movies for 20 years.
Well, that's what we always hope for. You and I, we do these projects, and then you're like, sometimes you think they're going to lead to. Sometimes they do, but more often than not, they don't.
Of course. And some of them, and some of the movies are shitty, and some of them are great. And in other words, the funny thing to me is whether you do a masterpiece or a piece of shit, it's not necessarily why the movie doesn't go. There's a development deal falls through.
Oh, yeah.
A company goes out of business, or the people you think are big time or not. And next thing you know, 3-4 years go by, and it's over. It's just gone forever.
Yeah, you spoke the other day about this movie I did. For the movie Find Me Guilty, that Vin Diesel was the lead in, and he plays Jackie DiNorcia, and it's a true story about a mob guy that represented himself, and there's like 27, I think, key defendants. Anyway, I got cast this movie. Sidney Lumet is the director. Bob Yari is the producer, who just finished winning an Academy Award and Oscar for Crash. So I'm like, shit, I got this role in the show. I'm one of the key defendants. I'm working a month on it,
That's awesome.
And I'm like, this is going to be huge. This is going to be, and it was in theaters for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they pulled it. And everybody said it was a great movie. It was a sleeper, but they didn't put the promotion. Like
you have to have a P&A, Prince and Advertising. You got to have that's why all the money comes in. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you having you on. Of course, you're a friend of the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll have you on again. While you're sitting there, I'll just wrap up the show. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my Knicks last night with a huge win over the Warriors. Brunson had a great game. He's tough. NCAA tournament. Just a quick. You know what? If your team doesn't make the NCAA tournament, just go play in the NIT. St. John's, Patino. You sound like a jackass. You didn't get in. You didn't have the whatever algorithm they have. You didn't get in. Shut your mouth and go play in the NIT and win the damn thing if you're that good. Yankee Giancarlo hit my first home run of the spring. My favorite player. I still think he's the best player in the league. I say that kidding around. And that's about it. What else do we have? Also, shout out my daughter's knee. Seems like it's doing okay after a little setback. And don't forget about Absolute Eyewear down at 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326-3937. Go to Absolute Eyewear, get all your eyeglass needs and everything else. The show is a little bit longer than we wanted because I chatted at the beginning about my crazy stand-up gig. But listen, Paul, I'll have you on again when that series, when that pilot thing gets hot, and we'll talk later about. I'll do some stuff with the beef jerky. That'd be funny. And you have a good
Jailhouse Jerky Crew.
Jailhouse Jerky sounds good. All right, brother. Be good. Good talking to you. I don't even know how to shut this off. Dave's third show.
I'm just going
to me and you can talk here, but I guess we can go as long as we want.
Where have you come from? Where have you gone? How long has it been, honey, since you've been home? Has it been